Income investors alike. We're going out for a little bit of a walk today. And today I thought it would be a fun idea to discuss just some personal finances on how I made my first 100,000. And this is a conversation I've seen broadly across the internet lately. And I thought it would just be a fun, endearing conversation for beginners out there that are trying to get through that first grind. And I want to backpedal a little bit because a lot of this begins probably when I was in my 20s. I'm going to say about 23 years old. When I first paid off, sorry guys, we're out in the woods. Well, not in the woods, we're actually in the city for once. I got to come back to life here. I haven't done any real walking streams, but I'm going to try it out today, folks. We'll see if the internet sustains. You guys have any questions through this, never hesitate either. But this takes me back to when I was like 23, because that's when I first finished paying off a massive loan. I took out like $23,000 in debt. Crushed me. I mean, I never grinded so hard in my life, because I remember back then I was making how much was I making? Oh my God, I was probably working at minimum wage. I remember working for this production company where I was doing lighting and sound and setting up these big productions, but I was really only making like $13 an hour or something like that. And I remember how many years I took that $24,000 loan out when I was, I think, I'm gonna say 18 years old, and 18 or 19. I didn't have it paid off till I was about 23-ish, because I remember that's when my mind really switched over. God, that was a grind. You want to talk about how hard it is to make the first 100,000? Start in negative numbers. So, God, that was a grind. So get that out of the way. And moving on, looking for like higher income needs. I mean, I wasn't really making that much because I went into like a full-time entertainment field of being like a DJ and a magician where I could work. It was really dope because I could work like 2 or 3 nights a week and make like, anywhere from $500 to like $1,200 depending on like the weekend. So I thought I had this great setup, right? Because I'm like, I'm working weekends, can do whatever I want during the week, started investing, having fun, and just building it up. But that initial grind, because again, even being a magician, making that kind of money, guys, it's not really that great. When you added it up over the year, I was maybe making about $40,000 a year before the insane expenses that come with operating such a capital intensive business and driving and all the costs associated with just getting the props and the entertainment materials. But so from that time when I paid that loan off at 23 till about the time, I mean, how old was I by the time I started saving up a decent chunk? I think I had 20 grand saved up by the time I was like, at least by the time I was 25 or 26. I mean, it took me a good couple years just to save up that initial amount, but that was like pivotal for me, right? Because that's when you start seeing like that compound effect from like dollars turning into like, just with the dividends and everything else in between. So when I got to that effect, I think it was probably about, because I always had this idea in my head. I'm like, if I could just get to like $300 or like $500, that would be like one coffee every day for the rest of my life, right? Just in dividends. So when I achieved that, maybe we'll go this way here, guys. Sorry, I'm just rambling. So this is probably going to be a deleted video after the fact. If you guys have any questions, never hesitate. I just wanted to try and experiment with going out. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. So trying to like avoid people and being too loud because I'm a very obnoxiously loud person. But yeah, so once I got like that 20, 30 grand and I was able to achieve like a 4% dividend yield or whatever off of that, like I felt alive, baby. I'm like, holy crap, free coffee every day for the rest of my life if I don't touch that initial 20 grand. And then that eventually accumulated, obviously, because I remember the most high peaked moment was around 50,000. And I wish I could put an exact date on when I achieved that first 50 grand. Because I remember I always tell people, like, I didn't even notice the first 100 that happened, but I definitely noticed the first 50 that happened because that was a grind. It took years. I mean, it took 3 years to pay off the 20 grand in debt. It probably took another 3 to 5 years to come up with that first 50 grand, maybe putting about, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 away a year. And then all of a sudden, guys, like you start really feeling that compound effect, where basically like once you get to that first 100K, it escalated so much faster. Because I remember when I hit the 100 and I really quickly went to 130, and that's when we hit the crash. Because guys, I only hit 100 grand like a couple years ago. Like, I mean, going into the pandemic in March of 2020, right? I mean, that was rough, but I watched my accounts just implode. That went down like 30%. I mean, I literally watched my account almost go back down below that 6-figure cap mark. But then after the fact, I mean, we had this wicked rebound, and it's crazy how long it took to make that first 100K. And guess how long it took me to make the next 100K? Less than a year. And guess where I'm at the following year, I'm already like another $50,000 here, guys. Like, it's crazy once you can just get over those first hurdling jumps at the record rate of compound, right? I might sit down in the shade here a little bit, and then we can do a quick questions and kind of answers period here. But I just don't think people can truly appreciate like just the wickedness of how fast this stuff happens if you can just get through that initial grind. And I just don't think people, because this is the hard part. Like, you tell somebody this stuff and they look at these big numbers and how long this is all going to take, but they just don't appreciate, I think, what happens when you can just get your feet in the ground and just get that initial, that initial idea. I need to find a shady place. It's pretty hot out here, but sun's like dead noon here. We're at like 3 o'clock. Me and Matt, my boy Matt Money, we're having this really interesting discussion. I'm going to come hide under here. Hopefully I don't interrupt anybody. About investing and making the money is actually a lot easier than people think, because it's not the amount of money that you're making. It's really just this. Oh God, let me squeeze in here, guys, and catch my breath. Getting some exercise there. This probably looks a little better right here. Actually, believe it or not, this is kind of the area that I want to move out to very soon. Maybe I'll show you guys some of the condos first before I explain you this. So this is literally not this area specifically, but it's very close to some of the condos that I wouldn't mind renting here very soon, just to get down here. Oh, my boy hitting it up. I'm gonna move in with Matt Money, the way he's flipping out dollars. Thanks for the dono there, brother. But yeah, me and my boy Matt, ironically, flipping the bills here. Go subscribe to Matt Money if you haven't seen him. The guy's gonna hit about $1 million if you want to hear the stories. But me and him were discussing this idea that investing is actually, like, if you can get the fundamentals down, it's insanely easy. Like, it's so stupidly easy to become rich. And it's not about how much you're making, because like I said, I got to 6 figures making less than roughly a minimum wage income, right? Arts and yeah, I don't, we got to talk, man. Shoot me a message and you can join the Matt Money clan here at the hashtag Rich Gang. But like, if you can just get those fundamentals down, like, it gets so much easier, guys, when you're talking about like just living below your means, trying to get a decent savings rate up. And you'll be shocked at like how fast a lot of this can evolve, and especially when you can start making a bigger shovel for like income, taking in part-time jobs, things of that nature. Because I just don't think people, if you can just get to the idea, guys, of spending a little less on Starbucks and putting a little more in your bank account, and you can get to a 10, 20, 30% savings rate like I have, you will be flabbered by how fast you're going to become rich. Because becoming rich isn't picking the right stock. I mean, you're going to pick a lot of bad stocks, but if you can just start and just keep investing and just keep doing it, even when it doesn't work, and just believe that there's going to be some better outcome. Because what's the worst case that happens, guys? Like what Dave Ramsey says, you might not become a millionaire, but is it really so bad if you end up with like, $100 grand, $500,000? Like, is that really so bad if you don't achieve these 10 million, $1 billion goals like the Grant Cardones of the world? I mean, if you can just get those fundamentals, and it's stupid simple, guys. It's literally like 3 things: like live below your means, save your money, keep yourself healthy, and just keep active, and try and find a balance in your life. I'm in the opposite of the balance camp, because I'm nuts. I'm a little bit insane. So I don't balance my life at all. This is the big problem, because eventually, like, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. It's sad. It's true. We're all going to end up in a box. It's just how you're going to want to live your life, and in what means do you want to live it, to what comfortability. Some people are comfortable working, spending every dime that they make at every aspect, right? Sorry, I'll let these people go by here. But so it's just like they don't care about having that comfortability aspect. But me, I have this core feeling of fear in my life, because like I don't have stability. I've come from very poverty, not personally, like I've had great parents and stuff, but I've seen what poverty does to people. I've witnessed what drugs and poverty can do to people, and I've always told myself that ain't gonna be me. That'll never be me. And when you find that motivation, and you have to find that motivation, or you're never gonna get anywhere, it's gonna push you. It's definitely gonna push you, because like that initial grind, once you can just get through it for the first few years, it gets easier and easier, obviously. But like you have to have something that keeps you pushing forward, so you don't get those temptations. But eventually it just becomes habit, right? But yeah, for me personally, guys, like I'm nuts. Like I'm so insane when it comes to doing stuff, because like I don't know why specifically. I don't know, maybe I have some like OCD aspects or something, but like when I get caught into something, especially something that's challenging, because I like hard things, and I like really pushing my mental limits on what I can achieve, because like I explain to my mom a lot what I'm doing, and I don't want to get into it in full detail on here, because I'm trying to keep a lot of it private, because some of this stuff I'm going to put into a course, maybe a Patreon or just something. Hopefully it's not too windy for you guys. But when I explain to people like all this stuff that I'm doing all the analytics, all the stock market, website, Google ads, Facebook ads, building out these strategic plans, getting sponsorships. Like, I don't have a management team behind me. No one taught me how to do ad campaigns or building this stuff up. And I am by no means anybody that I would claim to be like uber successful. But hell, me and my boy Matt Money here are on track to do well, a six-figure income this year, self-employed. I mean, like, I'm banking in anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a month right now, being self-employed, which feels a lot better than the magic days, because you add that into my compounded rate of effect with the money I have in the bank already, and you know, you start seeing the shovel get bigger and bigger, and then you just start seeing, again, guys, how this gets easier and easier. And like I said, I think I'm going to delete this stream because I'm just testing out these walks. Maybe I'll leave it live. I don't know. We'll see how you guys respond to it. I need to get a better scripting together. It's just hard when you're outside in the public. I'm just getting warmed up because we're going to be doing some events soon. I want to get together, guys. I got my first vaccination out of the way, which is super dope, being up in Canada because things have been really laggard. So now that we got this out of the way, what I would like to do is start booking the meetups, see if you guys want to actually meet up somewhere in the city, and maybe do some live streams through that, because we already have Vegas booked, which is going to be awesome. I think that's the third week of January. I'll be sending all the dates soon. I just wanted to get through the initial hurdles, because I know the US is moving along a lot faster than we are, which sucks. But you know, now that we're kind of getting to we can see the light at the end of the tunnel on the track. I mean, it would be great to start meeting up with you guys and figuring out what our plans are here. But yeah, any of you guys got any questions here? I hope you guys would be dope to meet up. I'm not sure how we're gonna do this. Me and my girlfriend keep joking about, you know, if there's that many people that are gonna show up in Vegas, we might have to rent a hall. But I don't want to book it in advance, so we're gonna see who actually shows up. And I'm sure the day of, while we're there, if there's like, you know, even if we get like 20, 30 plus people, maybe we'll just rent a little hall for the day and we'll just hang out, maybe go gamble a bit with everybody or just have some fun, right? In Toronto specifically, I know exactly where we're going to meet up, however, because I used to, before my career imploded, I had a really great job at a really great restaurant, a really well localized area. It's a place called the Shopstone Mills. So I would love to have a little reunion, especially with a lot of you guys, at a place that I used to work at for several years. I think would be super dope. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna chill here and take it easy. I need to. Sorry, it's windy. I hope you guys can hear me. I really want to get these streams down where I can just go out and not give a crap about the people around me and just have fun with this. But I notice a lot of people are like curving around me here because I'm also not wearing a mask still. But you guys got any quick questions and answers while I walk back? I also was in such a rush to make this stream that I left my wallet and everything back home. So I'm like, I just realized that I'm driving around with no ID or anything on me at all, and I'm kind of just walking around willy-nilly like an idiot. I went back to your first video. I sold my coins at the same location. The guy on the so no way, you liquidated some of your precious metals too at the Canadian Precious Metal Exchange. That place is so awesome. I still actually I still have precious metals. I gift precious metals a lot. I honestly think they're like the best gift ever. And like I said, I'm not for or against it. I think it's a good part of diversification. I'll answer your question here on covered calls in a sec. But from a diversification method, man, that place is awesome. If you guys ever get a chance and you live in Canada, you just want to see a really cool building, it's called the Canadian Precious Metal Exchange. And it's one of the largest in Ontario. I think there's only two that are huge, one downtown Toronto, and then this one's, I think, a little bit farther north of the city. But yeah, I love that place. I got to know the people in there. I ran into them at some of the places I worked at. Super, super awesome. When it comes to covered calls, I know Matt and Hot Davey. If you guys don't know Davey, Hidden Freedom Investing, there's a guy to really learn covered calls from. I don't personally dabble into it too much just because this comes down to a timing thing for me, and I keep arguing this with a lot of people because like you have to come up with a strategy, and I have a hard time just sitting down and doing it and taking the time to learn it, guys, because it's just trying to find value in what works for you, because right now I've really stepped back from the stock market, believe it or not. Let's meet the RioCan as well. Actually, there's a RioCan plaza right around here. But when it comes to strategies, I can't. It's timing, guys. Like you only have so much time to learn stuff and actually like implement where it's going to work best. And like when I get some time here, I want to sit down with Hot Davey. Maybe they can give me a quick strategy that might work and just mess around with it a little bit. But it's just guys, it's so hard to just, You see what's going on up here? It's a lot, man. It takes a lot of energy out of me to do everything I'm doing now. And it's just like, is my time going to be best allocated for learning covered calls? Like, I'm making six figures here off everything else that I'm doing. And I've just stepped back from investing so heavily. I did a lot of trading this year, more trading than I've done in a long time, probably more than I've done in the last 3 years. Last year, guys, I think, or just the beginning of this year, sorry, was it last year? I think I did 4 sells. I sold 4 stocks, I think, through the entire pandemic. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to double check, but it was nothing. This year already, I've done like 24 trades, made great money, but now I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm like, time to step back, let it just kind of curate on its own, because you get so caught up in it. And I just don't think people realize that you're not always supposed to be caught up in the market unless you have a strategy that's really working, you're day trading or something like that. So it's like, what's the big rush with it, guys? Like, everyone wants to sit down and analyze every company and every stock all the time. And it's just like, how do you have the energy for that? Do you not have a job? Do you have a family? Do you got kids? Like, to do real due diligence, I just don't think people put the effort in. And then they wonder why when their stocks implode and they have paper hands because they didn't do enough due diligence to be comfortable. And I don't get how people allocate their time and how they figure. You can really tell when somebody's a hobbyist and when somebody actually knows what they're doing, because somebody that knows what they're doing knows their time is valued and they're only going to invest their time where they're making the best return. And I don't know enough about options to fully grasp like where my actual return can come from and if it's going to be worth making. Is it a couple $100? Would it be a couple $1,000? And then actually implementing a strategy over a long period of time and then proving that it works and then just replicate, right? That's the same thing with day trading. Day trading is the same thing. You just figure out a strategy, you stick to it, you replicate, and statistically, presuming you're following a good strategy over the long term, it's going to work out great. Are you still going to average down on Tesla? Yeah, for sure, man. I love Tesla. I go read the comment section on my Tesla video. It's actually kind of funny. I still love how polarizing the topic is. But I'm I've been a fanboy of Tesla since I bought it back in 2019. I sold it because I didn't do enough due diligence when it really peaked, but I'm still skeptical on the valuation here. You're paying a pretty hefty premium for a company that's based on future expectations, right? But if there was one company that I had to really load the boat on for future expectations, it would be Tesla in a heartbeat. I don't even think I'd have to question that one. So I'm going to get in the shade here and we'll finish up real quick if you guys got any quick questions or answers. Do you see a lot of Mustang Mach-E's? I have yet to see a Mustang Mach-E anywhere up in Ontario. But this is the rollout, guys. Next year is the big rollout for most companies' EV electric lineup. And I'm skeptically optimistic because I think anybody that's a big bull on these first EV launches, I think you have to understand that I don't think people understand how hard it is to make electric vehicles. It's really hard. It is not easy to make electric vehicles, guys. And I think it's real funny that people just line up and think, oh, anyone can just slap these things together. And the first thing you're going to see is the Mercedes. You're going to see all the first lineup of electric vehicles, and they're going to cost an arm and a leg. They're going to be like, look at the Mercedes. It's going to be a 6-figure vehicle. That is not a vehicle for everyday, everybody use. I mean, that's why people don't understand how far ahead Tesla is. Because next year we're going to start seeing the first EVs come out. But then put that into perspective that those first EVs are going to be premium because they're the ones that they have to use to start ramping production, because you have to make money on these electric vehicles. In the first launch, you never make money. It's so hard to make money on a brand new vehicle lineup where you have to change manufacturing, get new logistics, new products and materials, and then you need to just make enough return to build up the ramp up. I mean, go look at Tesla's business model and how long it took them to get to where they are today, because people just think this shit just happened. It didn't just happen, and now every automaker is basically going to have to replicate what Tesla did, and I honestly don't think half of them are going to survive. If you want to learn about EVs, go to China. China's going to be one of the major competitors next to Tesla. I do not think most North American vehicle companies are going to survive this. I really just don't. And it's really blatant to see, guys, when you look at Ford, GM, most of the American makers, as much as people love them, they have been condensing immensely. Governments have been giving them bailouts to keep people employed. They've been closing factories down left, right, and center. I mean, we hear about it everywhere you live where there's a factory. I mean, go look at Oshawa here in Ontario where the big GM factory closed. Go look at Buffalo or wherever in the States there where that huge factory basically put in Detroit, an entire population into poverty. Like, that's what's been happening for the last 10, 15 years in the auto sector, guys. And now out of nowhere, these entire auto companies have to shift the way they build their vehicles. Look at Ford. Ford cut off every vehicle they're making except for the truck and basically the Mustang at this point. And I mean, people are like, oh no, they're gonna be just fine. And I think few of them are gonna survive. This is the same with every industry though, guys. Every industry is like this right now. we are heading into a world of monopolistic intention, I think, because you can't compete with the big guys. You just can't. And when you look at like social media, you can name like a small handful of companies with one major. Same with like iPhones and just phones in general. You can name a handful of companies with one major. We're going to be saying this about every industry in the future, I think. I think every industry is going to have a couple majors, and then there might be a handful of survivors competing on the lower end. Like, it's so weird how the world's heading that way, but you can't avoid it, guys. How do you compete with a company making $100 billion a year? Like, that's so absurd when you look at Apple, Microsoft, Facebook. Like, who the hell is going to compete with these guys? I mean, Microsoft is the dominating gaming system, right? PC's dominating gaming system. What's next to it? Sony PlayStations, Nintendo, and how many other gaming companies do you know that exist? Oh yeah, that's right. There's only like a few. I mean, every industry is going to be looking like this, and I don't understand how people think the auto sector is going to remain the same for some reason. Everyone's like, no, cars are going to be great. Everyone's still going to be driving all their cars. And then in China, they're like, nope, we're cutting down all the manufacturers by half. There's only going to be like dominating EV. We're going all EV. It's going to happen now, and it's going to happen. Like, China's so progressive on electric vehicles, and the Western world is kind of left to private industry to compete really aggressively for it. So, I mean, just not even talking about it, like I said, in the context of, ooh, what's going to win the electric vehicle race? It's more in the context of, even if it's not Tesla, guys, there's still going to be a handful of companies producing EVs. Putting Tesla aside, guys, if they don't win a large market share, there's only going to be a few other companies that will. And I'm honestly going to think that they're going to be Chinese companies. I do not think they're going to be American companies. I think America spent forever focusing on margins and condensing, and that's all they've done for the last 20 years. And it's just become a dinosaur industry. And now they've been flipped upside down, where they're going to spend every dollar they have coming through the door to switch everything over to EV. And either people are going to buy them or they're not. But I don't think they're going to be comparable in specs to some degree to Tesla's performance, just because they've had so much time to optimize the batteries, the manufacturing. And obviously, like, you look at the engineering marvels. Like, go watch Sandy Munro. If you guys are into cars, go watch Sandy Munro. Great YouTuber, and he says the same stuff that I say, guys. There is no competition to Tesla right now. As much as people think there is, there's not. And when you look at the parts and manufacturing, Tesla is miles ahead, because they've literally engineered from the ground up on every aspect of the car, including battery cooling. There's a lot of unique parts in Tesla vehicles that no other EV car has adopted into their vehicles yet, that gives Tesla a major efficiency advantage. And like I said, I'm not trying to be just a pure fanboy of Tesla, and this is not my opinion, guys. I get my opinions from people that do this shit for a living. I do not do auto for a living. I don't know shit about cars. I don't care about cars. I drive a Hyundai. You see my little Hyundai back here? This thing cost me like $6,000 to buy. I don't give a shit about cars. I don't care how I look in cars. I don't care about Lamborghinis. Yeah, they're fun to rent. It's fun to go to a racetrack and rent them and drive around, but I don't give a shit. A car gets me from point A to point B. That's its only purpose in my life, and I want it to cost as least as humanly possible. So don't take car advice from me. Take car advice from people that actually fucking deal with cars, guys. Sandy Munro is a guy that gets paid from companies like BMW, Mercedes, to actually go up and down their vehicles, tear them down, and then tell those companies what is wrong with their cars. And this is a guy that literally says there's no competition to Tesla, and he made a video not even a month ago saying this. So I'm like, if this guy's like a pristine expert in the field where major auto companies are hiring him to do specs on their cars, I mean, that's an opinion that's worth the weight in gold. So, I mean, like, I'm only taking opinions on Tesla from other people that know more than I do about self-driving. I've gone down the rabbit hole and I've looked into it. And like I said, guys, don't take my opinion, take it from the experts. I am by no means an expert, and I'm not loading the boat on Tesla like people think either. Tesla's a future play for me. I'd still rather have value plays or Facebook, but I can't, it's just my one stock. It's just that one stock. I just want to own it. It's great to talk about. It's going to make great content for years to come. Eventually, who knows? Maybe I'll buy a Tesla, make more content about it. Who knows? Cars are an expensive hobby. That's just it. They're just a hobby for people. It's so funny to me, because you spend like 1 or 2% of your entire life in your vehicle, yet it cost you as much as a down payment on a house, and you barely live in it. Once upon a time, I used to own a really nice car, Dodge Charger, but I was driving and towing and doing so much everywhere all the time that it made sense to have a bit of a nicer vehicle that could tow, because I had to park downtown too. But honestly, guys, like, cars are stupid. They are the stupidest friggin' thing you will ever buy. They're the biggest waste of money, and I don't know why people get so caught up on the fantasy of having to own these vehicles they never drive, ever. It never. And now Tesla's like, hey guys, we're gonna figure out how to make your car have a 99% use case or 100% use case. We're gonna let you we're gonna figure out how to plug it into the grid and utilize the batteries for power source. Hey, we're gonna figure out how self-driving works. Yeah, it's not gonna happen overnight. It's a really challenging problem that a lot of people are going to struggle with through the years, but eventually they're getting there. They're getting better. And if that becomes a reality, which I hope it does, because if it doesn't, life is going to suck. But if it becomes a reality, all of a sudden your car that you use 1 to 3% of your life, you are now using 99% of its time, and it's actually making you money and becoming more efficient, right? So I mean, it's literally a vehicle revolution. I didn't want this to be a Tesla video, but here we are talking about Tesla and making your first 100,000. If you want to make your first $100,000, guys, don't load all your money into Tesla. Just some words of wisdom here, guys. You want to make your first 100,000? Figure out how you can load the boat on companies like Facebook, baby. Yeah, I wish cars will become an asset instead of a liability. That's where we're headed, though. We're literally headed into a place where car will go from an asset to a liability, and buying a car from, say, any automaker that's still producing ICE vehicles will just be stupid. It won't make any bloody sense. Because again, if Tesla can get the cost of a vehicle down to the cost efficiencies they want, which is in the $20,000 range, you know what that's gonna do to the entire vehicle industry when like regular people can afford? That's why Elon keeps saying it's either gonna be next year or the following year. They're very likely gonna become the most sold car in the world, beating Toyota Corollas. Because again, it's efficiencies. It's just logic. Logic will always come over feelings. People feel great about Lambos, but who cares about how good you feel about your Lambo when your Tesla's paying you to feed power into the grid and picking people up for Uber and driving you around without you having no hands on the wheel, right? Like it's such a different world we're heading into that way that it's just fascinating, guys. It's just fascinating. But honestly, if you want real easy money, Facebook, baby. Facebook, man, dropping back down to the 300s. I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it again. Anytime Facebook dips, you should be buying it. That's the easiest win in your life. You know how many companies use Facebook right now? Most companies people even are buying. Like there's Matt Money again, like Wish. Let's look at Matt's a big boy on Wish. Wish is trading at a pretty decent valuation. It's fallen off a cliff for the earnings they're producing. But even Wish, everybody that's on Amazon, a lot of people that are on Amazon, they're all using Facebook and Google to advertise their products. So it's just like, guys, like every company in the world, even Kevin O'Leary, like Facebook is running small town America, guys. Hate it or love it, there's a reason that they're growing revenues at like a stupid pace. It's such easy money. I wish people would take the path of least resistance to wealth. Instead, people go into crypto, shit they don't understand, and it's just like, I could sit here and rain money down on you all day with great advice. And don't take my advice, I'm not an investment advisor, but my God, guys, like why do people need anything other than like these few handful of companies? Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Johnson's & Johnson's of the world. Like the numbers are so easy and they're so in front of your face, yet every single person is like Tesla, Doge, crypto, like every spec play under the sun, and they want it like quick gains. Let's go. It's like, guys, if you put 100 grand in Facebook right now, come back to me in 3 to 5 years and just tell me where you're at, because you're probably going to be way better off, or even a freaking S&P 500 index, because the index naturally weights the winners. The index doesn't care about your feelings. It literally weights these companies from the top down. So you're always going to be getting the best companies, the best winners all the time. So it's just like, I don't understand why people make it so hard on themselves to invest. But I think this comes from a place of ignorance. Because when you're pushing to get to that first 100 grand, guys, you need the path of least resistance to wealth. And I got lucky because I've made a lot of my money from highly speculative investments. But this comes from the same reminder I was talking about earlier, that your time matters. Where are you dedicating your time? Are you dedicating your time to looking at stocks nonstop while you're trying to work a full-time job and you think you're going to be a great day trader and a great investor? You're not. You're absolutely not. It's the same thing with Cathie Wood, guys. Like people are so speculative on, and they're just so opinionated about how these big investors invest their money, like Cathie Wood, and everybody has an opinion on how they invest and how they choose stocks. But at the same time, guys, these people sit down every bloody day. Their only job is to look at stocks, analyze companies, and go up and down them. And it's like the Hindenburg report. Like, you think the Hindenburg report that destroyed Nikola was somebody that just slapped that together on a part-time whim? These people are full-time. And this is the same thing that I constantly have to remind myself that, yeah, I've picked really good individual stocks. I've done very successfully with it. And I always get a little fearful that, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue that moving forward. But that comes from a place of having a lot of time, even when I was a full-time magician, guys, because as a full-time magician, I was working 2 or 3 days a week. I had 5 days during the week because I worked weekends, and I had nothing better to do than look at stocks. And I have to remind myself that that is a huge advantage. That is such a huge advantage that it's not even funny, because most people do not have the time that I have to invest into learning about this stuff, right? And I don't think people include that into their hindrance of buying individual stocks. I don't think if you have the time to listen to annual reports and actually go through the numbers and just see what's going on with these companies, that you should even be touching them. It's so risky, guys. And now there are companies that I think if you wanted to set up a relatively passive portfolio with ETFs, but any spec space stocks you'll buy in the future, I do not want anything to do with space, guys. Go look at what Rocket Labs is going through right now. They're going through one hell of a hard time. Stay away from the space industry. I like the advice Ryan from Independent Investor gave me, which is time to assets might, oh, sorry. Oh, no, don't go away on me. Oh, no. Sorry, guys, I'm on my phone and it disappears the chat. I wanted to see what that question was because it's about Captain Ryan. I like the advice Ryan from Independent Investor gave me, which is time is our best asset, so might as well invest into index funds and let it grow over time. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, your time is your most valuable asset, so you have to understand how you're allocating that time. And sometimes that time is better allocated towards your family because you got to have some spiritual backing. You got to feel good about your life. Maybe it's better toward work and you building up multiple income sources. The stock market is supposed to be passive for most people, and you can do really well being passive. But if you want to be active, guys, you actually have to give a shit, and you actually have to put a lot of time behind it, which I do for fun. I like to think that I keep saying that I'm a passive investor, but really I'm 100% active everywhere in my life. So I can walk away from it though and still make a lot of money, because most of the stuff, once you've set it up, you've clicked your button, you've done your due diligence, you're in a good space, right? Anyways, putting this aside, I think it's time that I get the hell out of here, because I don't know why I'm sitting in a bush out here. I just wanted to come out and make a video because I didn't have time to edit this down today, and I have to run back. I'm doing all kinds of analytical reports right now and some other stuff. Actually, for the first time ever in my life, you know how great it is to hire people? This is the first time ever in my life where I've made enough money that I can employ people to do some of my work for me. And that's why I'm making this video for you, because there's somebody back doing the work for me. And now I got to go back and see if the work's done so that I can send it off to the boss. It's so funny. It's honestly so funny, but so we're 31 minutes deep. If you guys have any last questions, answers, I might delete this live stream after the fact. I just thought it would be fun to do a quick stream. Yeah, that's a milestone. I guess I can follow up on what we were talking about in the beginning here about trying to get to your first 100,000, just to give you guys a quick recap here. But when you guys were initially starting out, it's gonna suck. Yeah, Matt's like the boss ladies. Yeah, I know. I love hiring the boss lady. She's doing all the work. But when it comes to the initial setup, guys, for getting yourself to that first 100K, it's going to suck. It's going to be a grind. I'm still living at home with my parents to try and get ahead here. You really are going to have to give up a lot. And I think there was a guy that was a great example of this. You have to learn to live below your means in a way that's not even funny, especially if you're aspiring to be like a millionaire, billionaire. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great to pursue financial freedom in any aspect. I think is a really endearing goal, because you realize that to become a millionaire, guys, it's not as much about the money as it is about the relationships, about putting the work in, proving value to others. There was a guy that I watched that really did a good job explaining this, because he says, like, to become a millionaire it's not just as simple as a blanket statement. Like, it's a statement that goes spiritually and fundamentally beyond many aspects of your life, and it requires sacrifice. It requires caring about more people than yourself. It requires a lot of effort on many fronts, and I hate how when we think about rich people, we think about greed and Lambos and all this stuff, but we don't think about the years of effort, the years of building up a business, the years of making stable relationships and proving people there's value behind what you're doing, and then putting the work in and actually proving it. And there's a guy that talks about Tesla a lot, and I wish, because he only owns Tesla stock. He does own real estate and other stuff, and because he's well diversified, he's one of the big Tesla YouTubers, and he made a video that really inspired me, and it was really humbling, because he said that he basically lived in like the ghetto. I don't know if it was San Francisco or where it was, but he said he lived in an apartment that was so bad that they had to put blankets over the windows and tarps because there was such a breeze and a draft in winter, and it would just get so cold and chilly at night, and they didn't have heating. And then he remembers one morning he woke up to brush his teeth and there was a roach on the end of his toothbrush, and he said he lived like that until he was roughly in his 30s, and he managed to save up a lot of money. And he said, I didn't even have luxuries until I was in my 30s. And I'm like, that's how I've been living my entire life. I'm like, the luxuries I've had were only for work. And other than that, guys, I'm operating off an old iPhone XR and a laptop that cost me $1,000. I'm running a six-figure business off a $1,000 gaming laptop and an old iPhone XR. You do not need the fanciest shit in the world to get by. And if that's where your attention is and it's not on the work, you're not going to be getting anywhere, guys. So when you're starting out, I think it's important to recognize that you need to learn to live below your means. Eventually that won't become as much of a challenge as it is just a habitual habit for you, because eventually you'll just start becoming cheap like I am. You'll have a few luxuries. I mean, obviously I dip into some luxuries in life, but they're not expensive. A lot of people come to me when they want to start investing. I start talking about cutting back expenses and hustling, immediately lose their interest. Yeah, that's just it, guys. People don't, it's hard. It's habits. Like, I started young. I had a lot of good influences when I was young, and when you start young, it's easy. It's so easy to start making these habitual habits a habit, because like the fun thing about me, guys, that I like most, that I appreciate most about myself, is my work ethic, because I don't quit. And I always told, like, I always knew that I didn't have to be the best. I'm going to work to be better always, but I don't have to be the best. I just have to outlast everybody, because people are weak. Unfortunately, it's true, guys. I mean, you know, any YouTubers in the space have come and gone since I've been in here. It's just because they're weak. They're not malleable. They don't put the grind in. They don't shift. They don't try and do different things. They just kind of do the same repetitive thing and then wonder why it doesn't work for them. They don't evolve. They kind of just get caught up in it. And I think that it's just, so that I love about myself, but also the fact that, like, I'm comfortable living like a normal human being. I mean, I was very fortunate to visit family in Brazil when I was a lot younger. I've seen a lot of poverty nations and a lot of poverty. And I've seen a lot of poverty in my own life. I've had really close friends to me commit suicide, and they came from really hardship places. And I just recognized that, like, I would rather give up every piece of materialistic items in my life, knowing that I will have the freedom to never have to sleep on a dirt floor, never have to worry about wanting to go and do something. Like, if I want to go watch a starship take off and go watch SpaceX launch rockets, guys, I can afford to do it. I want to know that I can do things. I don't want to care about the Lamborghini that some guy dented on the way out of the parking lot. I don't want to have to worry about any of that shit. I just want to know that I can sleep in when I want, get up when I want, hang out with my girlfriend when I want, and then just enjoy my life. So that way, if I drop dead tomorrow, my parents and my girlfriend can fight for all the money I have in the bank from the government. And at least I'll know that, you know, I've had this really nice, comfortable life with great people, and I've had great people to work with. Like, my boy Matt Money's still sticking around here, and I just love these connections that come out of these ideas, because, like, when you come up with stuff, guys, it's scary. I mean, you don't know if it's going to work. I started my YouTube channel, didn't make a dime for a year, posting a video every day in between my magic career, and before you know it, it's just evolved into this thing that really took over my life. And it comes back to that compounding effect, right? Like, it starts small, but if you can just keep the grind going and keep the connections growing and keep finding people of interest, eventually it just becomes something. It's hard, but I'm hoping you guys will put aside the materialistic bullshit and see that there's more value to family, friends, traveling. And yeah, I care a lot about money. My whole channel's about money. It's my hobby, it's my life, it's my passion. But money isn't the core value of what I'm doing or how I get money. If you think money is just something you chase and you get it, it's not how it works. It's a very in-depth, complicated life endeavor. And even when you make it, like, it's so funny because people spend their whole lives grinding to become like millionaires, and then they get into their 40s and they're like, I've made it. You know, I have $1 million, I can retire. And you know when most people die? When they retire. I know so many people that drop dead a year either before retirement or after retirement. And I don't want to be that guy that has to wait. You know, I don't think people understand the passion of enjoying life, because your time, like, I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to get out of here because this is going to get too much. How much do you value your time? If you were to drop dead tomorrow, guys, would you have woken up today saying, I can be happy dying tomorrow? Every single day I get up, putting money and everything aside, I always just keep asking myself, guys, is there anything that if I don't do it now, I'm going to regret if I die tomorrow? I mean, I've done a lot with my life. Not as much as that I want. I still a lot that I want to do, guys, but I've done a lot. I've done skydiving. I've learned how to fly planes. I've done a full magic career for a decade. I've done DJing and all these parties and entertaining celebrities and all this fun stuff. And it's not like a gloating thing. It's just that, like, I've chased these passions throughout my entire life, and I'm at just a place now in my life where I feel just, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I've had such a great life and been around such great people and had such great experiences, and I've been able to come out of things that were really challenging as a young person, from really just shitty places. And it's great to be grateful, and just know that you're happy. So, I mean, figure out what's going to work for you guys, and just realize that, like, this shit doesn't matter. You know, live below your means. You don't need Starbucks or Tim Hortons every day. and just enjoy your life, guys, and grind it out, put that money away, and then come join the hashtag Rich Gang group, because we're going to be meeting up Toronto, Vegas. It's coming, baby. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Stay cool, stay awesome. And yeah, I'm going to catch all of you tomorrow. Peace out.